Great. Good afternoon, everyone. We are just going to let a few of you roll in and then I'll begin today's webinar. Cool. So I'll just get cracking. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Zoe and I'm a campaign manager here at Birchal. And just before I introduce the founders of WOSUP, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land Birchal is based on today, which is the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin nation. And we pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. And, these webinars are a fantastic opportunity to learn so much more about the incredible businesses on our platform and hear directly from the founders. And today I'm here with Carl and Marty from WOSUP, and they'll give you a bit of a presentation of their origin story and what they've done so far with their company, and obviously what they're planning to do with their capital raise on Birchal. Carl and Marty will give a presentation and then I'll open up the floor for a Q&A. So please know to submit your questions through the Q&A bubble down the bottom there, and make sure you upvote any questions that you find particularly interesting, because that'll help me, to get them answered for you. We're recording today's webinar session as well. So if you need to jump off or leave, that's totally fine. We'll distribute it in 24 to 48 hours. And just very quickly, before I do pass on to Carl and Marty, I just want to talk about Birchal's role. And Birchal's whole ethos is to help small investors invest in early stage companies like never before. So through this type of capital raising, companies aren't limited to the normal shareholder caps that usually other companies are, and it allows hundreds, if not thousands, of new investors to join a business and get behind their growth. And Birchal is a crowdsourced funding platform. So we act as a gatekeeper to ensure that all investment offers we host are compliant with ASIC laws, but also people are able to, make investments in the businesses they like never before. So without further ado, I'll pass on to Carl and Marty.
Hi, everyone.
Hi all, Carl here.
Martin here. We thank you very much for attending our webinar and participating in the EOI for WOSUP through Birchal. What we've got today is just a bit of a presentation on the business, a bit of an overview for you. And as Zoe said, if you've got any questions at all at the end of the presentation, please feel free to chat to us. Carl and I both went to a Swans game back in 2018 at the SCG, and at that game we saw cups lying around everywhere. There's a lot of plastic in venues, and we looked at this and we started using our cups, taking them back to the bar, and we thought at that point, how do we make this better? The Swans started losing. So I'm a massive Swans fan. Carl's an Eagles fan, so he didn't really mind terribly much. But we started going back to the bar a little more frequently, and we started brainstorming a business which was to become WOSUP. So
yeah, that was when was that? That was July 2018, August 2018. So. Yeah, look, we've been at this business for a long time, and obviously during that time we had COVID, which kind of allowed us to sort of extend our runway to launch, which has actually been a bit of a bonus for us because it's allowed us to refine our modelling. Yeah, but that was where it all began.
So we started looking at how big the problem was, and the problem is massive. There's about 500 billion single-use cups that are used every year, not just in venues and entertainment, but that includes coffee cups and the like. So there is a global movement to ban single-use plastic products around the world. And in actual fact, there are governing international bodies looking to actually remove plastic altogether and other single-use items. In Australia, We are currently looking a little like this. Plastic cups and lids have only been banned in one state, and that's Western Australia. But we do a lot of engagement with environment ministers, both state and federally. And we're there at the coalface of legislation, showing them that there is a different solution available to actually look at large-scale venues and entertainment locations and festivals, etc., to remove plastic cups. It is probably the most difficult problem for them to fix, but like anything, once you've legislated it, it really does start to help, and the momentum has certainly started to take effect in federal and state legislation. We then start to look at why does Australia need us? Well, I guess that the main thing here is that we've looked at the Paris Agreement and COP27, and as Carl said, during lockdown, there was COP26 and COP27 last year, and it really sort of helped us form a view that we needed to look at a broader problem, not just plastic waste and waste in general and single-use items, but also there's a huge requirement for us to be able to deliver a solution which can feed into the construct of sporting codes, venues, and that was to also look at the offsetting of carbon with a legitimate partner, which is verified by the federal government, and that is Greenfleet. So how we go about that is that we actually offset 3 kilograms of carbon for every cup we put in the venue. So not only are we affecting the reduction in waste, but we're also is to try and make sport and entertainment carbon neutral. And how we know this makes a difference is that there was a recent study done by a conversation, and they looked at the last 4 weeks of travel between the 4 codes, AFL, NRL, A-League and Super Rugby. And in those last 4 weeks in 2019, just from air travel alone, they contributed 475 tonnes of carbon. Now, if we had just done one game in each one of those weeks, we actually, through our service, we would have offset 100% of that carbon. 100%, which is massive. And if we start extrapolating that across a 192 game season of NRL, you can start to really see the effect and the impact that WOSUP can make.
Having those carbon credits as well, it actually allows us to offset our business as well, which is what it's all about. We only need 1 kilogram, and then we can use the other 2 kilograms per cup to offset any venue or any code that we collaborate with. Yep.
I guess the one of the key reasons from where we've taken the company recently in looking at the waste reduction, solving the plastic crisis that's there, looking at disposable items to benefit, and also the offsetting of carbon. The key thing here is that the next generation, as we call it, which encapsulates Gen Y, X, Z and Alpha, and I have an Alpha at home, and I've also got a millennial at home, but we have really started to see that there's a huge shift in the way people transact with brands and corporations. And what has become quite clear, this is a study that Nielsen did all the way back in 2015, so it's actually got a little bit more heightened in this way, but when looking at this, they care more about what a brand portrays and what it represents rather than the brand itself. And the reason why we talk about this is because with the way that we're going with sponsorships and sport, sustainability and ESG initiatives, it's really quite a profound conversation to have with codes, because codes are generally run by people that were born in the 60s and even sort of getting closer to Carl and my age. And there's a disconnect between the sporting bodies and the codes and the sponsors and the actual people that are playing the game. And you would have seen with recent news articles in relation to Netball Australia and Hancock Prospecting, Pat Cummins, who they call Captain Climate. And it's these kind of sponsorship arrangements that need a legitimate ESG initiative, and the codes need a legitimate ESG initiative to stay relevant to the audiences and their future members and participants that are coming through. So where are we different? How do we model and differentiate to other people in the market? There are other companies that are currently doing similar things, mainly with reusable plastic. We've got a company called Wise in Australia that we know about, who has in effect provided this solution to a couple of venues. Where we really differentiate ourselves is that because we're not plastic, we deliver a much greater drinking experience. Being aluminium, and we're a lightweight aluminium product, it's very, very durable. So we had said in our life cycle assessment that we did recently that we would use the cup up to 5 times, probably about 5 times in total. However, since doing the events with the Autumn Carnival with Randwick and Rosehill, we've used the same cups over six events, and we're still able to use them more. Yep. The other really key differential here is that in doing all of our investigations during COVID, and that gave us an ability to really engage with venues, sporting codes, sponsors, ticketing, tech and the like, was how do we then provide a value proposition to the patron in the venue? And the way we do this, we've developed a bespoke tech platform which is activated through a QR code. And as we all know, checking in during COVID, etc., QR codes became ubiquitous through the whole country. And so if you're like me, when I see one, I almost feel inclined I have to scan it. But what we've done here is to develop a patron experience which can be provided. Money can't buy experiences, benefits from sponsors. And this helps us drive a return on investment for sponsorship, not just through creating a really feel-good ESG initiative for sponsors and codes, but also being able to provide an opportunity for venues and codes to be able to transact in a commercially beneficial way. The other item, of course, the most important, is that we are truly a closed-loop solution. Aluminium is a great product, and while it's durable and we can reuse it again and again, we're only getting a 1% rate of damage, which we're amazed at.
It's been, we, as everyone's probably aware, we were fortunate enough to run some full trials up in Country Bank Stadium up in Townsville. And the results that we got back from that, we were blown away with. Actually, we had an incredible return rate of about 83%, and we only had damaged cups of %. So it allows us to, at the end of, we don't, not after every game, but at the end of the quarter or end of the year, any damaged cups we crush, bale and send off for recycling and start the whole process all over again. But it truly is a closed loop.
So obviously, being investors, you're pretty keen to plan to make money. So there's five ways that we commercialize the business. One is that we're working primarily with codes, venues and governments in providing cup into the venue. Now we do this through incorporating in the price of the ticket, which we're doing with a current, a code at the moment, and we'll announce that later on in the presentation. We also are working with stadium and venue management companies through providing and subsidising the cost of the cup through subscriptions. So the way clubs work is that at the end of every year, about November, they release their annual subscriptions. This is particularly in relation to winter sporting clubs. And then that all gets transacted in February before the actual season begins. So this is a way that we can also work with them. And that also includes subscriptions with membership, stadium membership like SCG member, or in relation to corporate suites. The main way that we're looking is obviously through sponsorship. And so creating a new sponsorship category under sustainability is where we're going to be seeing the majority of our revenue. This really does create a way for us to be able to deliver the product in venue with no barrier to entry. And we can talk about that later. Through the tech platform, the data and the rewards that we're going to be able to provide the patron, we gain data from them, and the data that we're going to be able to generate is actually quite multifaceted. It's not only is it data that I might provide in exchange for $10 off at Dan Murphy's, or I might be able to have a kick for a goal at halftime to win a Lamborghini, if that's what I wanted to do. We're actually able to deliver really great fan experience and enhancement through our platform by people actually scanning the card. And then we've got the traditional method, which is just pretty much a mechanism for people to brand. So merchandise. So we have a number of different clubs, venues. This is one for Brisbane Lions. And we're able to sell that. We have a partnership with Lion, one of the major brewers, and their sales staff actually work with us quite frequently in ordering product for specific venues that they're supplying out to. The benefits for venues really is it is an absolute, and I know this is a funny thing to say, but it really is a plug-and-play sustainability solution for them. There's not a lot of work that they do in relation to sustainability practices from an official point of view in offsetting carbon or waste. A lot of them do try, and they've got a lot of back-end recycling programs. A lot of them are powered by solar, but this is still an area which needs to be fixed. We also know that engaged patrons spend more. So because our tech platform has been integrated with a software called PassKit, all of you would be familiar with PassKit when you have your flown Virgin or Qantas and you add your boarding pass to wallet. That is actually using the software PassKit. So by integrating that platform for us, it actually means that we can create retail offers which can be scanned in the venue or outside the venue in retail outlets. And this is the first time this has really happened for venues and for sponsors, is to have that transaction go from venue into retail. Sorry, I forgot to turn my phone off. The other thing is, of course, it allows us to attract Generation Next. They have to start looking at how are they and what initiatives they're going to be incorporating to keep people coming to sport, live sport. That is a really, really important thing. The next generation now represents over 51% of the Australian population. So for a lot of sports like motorsport, NRL and the like, it's really, really important that they keep engaging with that generation and implementing initiatives that will keep visitation up. The sponsors, fabulous way to deliver one-on-one engagement to people in the palm of their hands while they're in the venue. They haven't had this ability before. Probably the closest way they've been able to do it is through Wi-Fi. But now with Wi-Fi, you're not able to log on to Wi-Fi as you were, and you won't be able to take as much data as you were because of iOS and Google changes to privacy laws. Scanning a QR code through and taking you to a web app environment where you've got this ability to still gather information about the user is absolutely the way that we can do it. The other thing is, of course, for sponsors, they're participating in an ESG initiative, which is a verified, fantastic thing to do. They're contributing to the offset of carbon, they're helping us plant trees, and they're aligning their brand with fantastic environmental impact. And that is really one of the key things here, is that we understand that the sustainability category in sport is one of the fastest growing categories in sport. There was a meeting done recently in London, which partner Ed went to, actually, and there was a workshop led by a global leading sponsorship group who actually do the global sponsorship of Formula One sport. And the main focus of this presentation done by this person was on sustainability, saying that sustainability was probably the fastest growing category of sponsorship in sport over the next 5 years. Benefits for code. Well, currently from ticketing platforms, they only receive information from that opt in once they purchase the ticket. And this represents maybe 3 or 4% of the total venue attendance on game day. What we've been able to do is to really deliver them an opportunity by people scanning the QR code of who are going with those people who bought the ticket. I might have bought 4 tickets. I've asked Carl to the game, but they won't know who Carl is and they won't know who you are, unless, of course, we provide them an incentive to scan the card. This is really important for them because we can then, through the platform, deliver knowledge and analytics, which are aggregated, about who is going, attending games, how frequently they've attended games, and then start incentivizing them to actually work. You know, if you go to the 5th game, we'll give you 20% off membership next year. So we're trying to take and help codes and clubs deliver that pathway from a casual single user all the way to becoming a member. And if we've done that, we're really making change happen for the clubs, because ultimately they're all about increasing visitation and driving membership.
One thing we haven't mentioned at this stage either is the opportunity that's going to be available at festivals and events. We've really focused on the sporting codes, because that seems to be where we're at this stage where we're getting the most amount of traction. But there is a whole new sector of the market that we'll be able to approach as far as festivals and events go. So that's another area. Yeah, we
have engaged with a gentleman by the name of Greg Germain, who is one of the preeminent sponsorship and event and festival commercial guys in Australia, and he is. I worked with him way back in Triple M days at Austereo back in about, I think, late 90s. And it's really fantastic for us to have him on board. He's an absolute powerhouse and has already started to make some great impact as far as our pipeline's concerned in that area. How has WOSUP Rewards been going? Well, we've run it up in Queensland, and we've been achieving a pretty good success rate, I would think. We've had a 6% scan rate with obviously some support with digital signage by the Cowboys in the venue. We've had a registration rate of about 3.5%, which is pretty good. I actually think we can do a lot better than that. Currently, the offer that has been used to drive that acquisition has been 2 free tickets. So you can imagine if we start doing free cars, if we start doing cases of beer or $20 off, whatever, test drives, holidays, that kind of thing, with really sort of major sponsors, you can quickly see how the impact of that would be, supported by signage within the venue, which is what we're talking about as far as sustainability sponsorships. This is what it looks like. So you scan the cup, and you know, if you get this presentation, feel free to scan it. It's live currently with the Cowboys. And this is what our platform looks like. So when you scan it, this is what you come into, and you can join or you can log in. Where have we done really well so far? Before we even get to this, I just want to say that we've absolutely done really well through COVID. It was quite a challenging time for us and the team, And to get to this point on the other side has been a really massive achievement for us. Getting the trials at the SCG and Suncorp Stadium has been fantastic. We worked with Merivale on the trial at the SCG, and we've built up quite a good relationship then with Venues New South Wales, who have accredited our cup in the venue, which is a massive thing. We won the Stadium's Queensland tender to roll out the trial up in Queensland Country Bank Stadium. We wanted to ensure that we did Townsville because that was an area that we thought we get traction there, we get acceptance there, we can really achieve great things in other markets. And quite pleasingly, because of the success we've had up there, and as Carl mentioned, the reusability rate, we're pleased to say that we've been given more games. So we'll be activating there until the 22nd of June. Our sustainability sponsorships really is quite a focus for us. So taking out the rights of sustainability sponsorships like we have done with PMY at the Australian Turf Club, working with codes to deliver them and to fund their IP in this regard, take out the exclusive arrangements with them and then sell sponsorships by activating our service at big games. We have a really experienced sponsorship team, as I mentioned previously, with Greg and others involved in the business selling that. We have a strategic relationship with Lion, and we have had this relationship for the past couple of years, and it just keeps building on that. It keeps getting stronger, and that's fantastic. We're also pleased to tell everyone today that we have successfully agreed with Rugby Australia to do the Wallabies game at CommBank Stadium on the 15th of July against Argentina. We've been working on this for quite some time, and this is really important in two things. One, it opens up Venues Live, which is one of the main venue management companies in New South Wales, but also Rugby are the first code to actually participate in our model and to take a stand against plastic waste, and obviously wanting to, with a view to offsetting carbon. The IRB is really focused on ensuring that rugby as a sport globally have sustainability measures in place. And it's really important for us also because Australia's holding the Rugby World Cup in 2027. Although Rugby Australia don't have any decision-making on us for that event, we are hoping to start engaging with the Rugby World Cup organisers.
Yeah, and going back to that win at Stadiums Queensland as well, we've also got the Brisbane Olympics happening in 2032, and we're sort of hoping that alignment and that success there will then roll on to obviously the Olympics, which is what we're aiming towards. Yep.
Another really key focus for us is developing our business in Victoria. We've had success in Queensland, obviously New South Wales. Victoria is the sporting capital, and anyone from New South Wales or Queensland, I apologise, I am actually from Sydney myself, but it is true. I was there Thursday, Friday last week, meeting with Golf Australia, Tennis Australia and the VRC. Really, we've been progressing those discussions with them, and we hope to have some great results over the coming sort of half year. AFL has briefed us on conducting the footy festival before the grand final. They have a big activation down in Melbourne for about a week before the grand final, and so we're working currently with CUB and the AFL on developing that opportunity. We've also applied for a sustainability grant with Victoria, which is a circular economy stage 3 grant for $500,000. Our relationship with the Victorian government is building. We've spent a bit of time trying to develop that with Minister Stitt's office, Ingrid Stitt, who's the Environment Minister down there. And I met with her team on Friday to really start focusing our efforts on how we can grow a partnership like we are in Queensland. So to achieve this grant would be massive for us. It would help us fund 3 really big major events and to trial a way that we can start working with the Victorian government on their major events ongoing. In addition to that, we're working with the University of New South Wales Smart Centre. We have a great relationship with the Neoban and Professor Veena Sahajwala. I'm not sure if you know of Professor Veena. She's an absolute legend in working out how to use waste as a resource. So they've developed this product which you can Google and where they can turn aluminium waste into raw aluminium, like it's really high quality aluminium. They're doing that from chip packets, medicine wrappers, and other things from actual landfill. And working with them, we have another meeting with them on Friday. We're hoping that we can work with them ongoing about developing the beverage category and start manufacturing green cans and cups. It's a very similar process of manufacture, and that is something where we're really aiming to try and make a serious impact. And the big final success that we've had most recently, Carl and I were actually up in Townsville, and we had a text message from one of our commercial partners. And whenever we activate in a venue, we're always really interested in seeing what the data is between beer sales previously and beer sales with us. And we got sent this text message which showed an absolutely incredible sales figure. There was a massive increase in the sale of draft beer with us, and as opposed to the previous games beforehand. And we thought that couldn't be right. But we then got the data from Queensland, we got the data from Randwick, and it was all really, really similar. And to look at this, it was fantastic. We actually grew sales. And I just want to share with you a couple of these slides that we've got in relation to this. So one of the key important aspects for us is to achieve a high return rate. We achieve a high return rate, it improves our margins, means we don't have to buy as much stock, and we can then resend the cup. And one of the models that we've got with the codes is to refund the codes and try and incentivize them on reusability through education and communication. And we can do that with some of the clubs and the codes. But at the moment, we're running at 70% return rate. That was our base minimum requirement from our life cycle assessment. That was an aspirational number, and we're really pleased. Now, this is across racing and stadiums. Stadiums, we're smashing that number. We're over 80%, which is brilliant. When we first started the business, we were modelling 40%. So that is a testament to Carl's work in venue, with all the operations and with all the venue management, the cleaners, all the contractors that we work with on every game that we attend.
A lot of that came down to education as well. We ran a really solid PR educational campaign up in Stadiums, Queensland. And the racing for us was a little bit last minute, and we didn't have the same opportunity, and therefore the return rate at the races kind of pulled us back a little bit, but not too badly. But it just goes to show, with the right educational sort of PR piece, we get really solid results.
Yeah. How's this transacted? Well, we've actually done the numbers on every event that we've done, and this it's actually quite phenomenal. We've been able to grow the beer category by 12%. That's on average. So we've actually achieved higher than that in other venues. So it's a phenomenal result. I mean, it really is testament to the fact that people enjoy drinking out of the cup. Now, we can't say we're making people drink more, because that's not good from an RSA point of view. But if you're in for the venues and the caterers, if they're implementing a product just organically by using it, that they grow sales, it's a phenomenal result, and it really helps us getting the product in venue more often. The other thing is we've seen a real change in behaviour as far as people drinking out of cans and tap beer. Before, when they only had the choice between cans and plastic, they went cans. But now they've got the choice between cans and this cup. They've decided to go back to the cup, back to draft beer, because we all know that's our preferred method of having beer, or alcohol is out of a cup. And what this shows is that in actual fact, we've grown draft beer sales by 55% against packaged. So packaged has declined about 25% and draft beer has increased 55%. And that's where you see the category growth of 12%. One of the main bits of data that we're really wanting to try and make a huge impact in is obviously the carbon impact. So we conducted a life cycle assessment, which we've got some data at the back end of the presentation. But what we've shown here is from the events that we've done in one venue, we can show the impact of carbon that we've created. So because we're offsetting a lot of carbon, it obviously makes the cost of carbon probably a little smaller than it actually is. But you can see the impact that we're having between canned beer and putting WOSUP in as a solution for draft. So at the end here, you can see total carbon. That's a positive result for the venue, about 1,000 kilograms of carbon across the games we've done. And you can see by implementing our solution, we're negative 8,000 kilograms of carbon. So there's a difference of about 10,000 kilograms of carbon. One of the other main things that they're looking at is waste. Waste is key. They pay for waste. Waste they pay by the tonne. And we've just done this from, again, 2 games, and you can imagine what the impact of this would be over a full season. But you can see as far as cup waste reduction, we're reducing 95% of waste in weight of cups. And our cup weighs 32 grams versus a plastic cup of 11 grams. So that is a significant reduction. That is another cost benefit to the venues and the caterers. And the other thing is we've been able to achieve a 35% total reduction in waste across canned beer and draft beer. And the reason for this is that because people are going to our product more often than they are cans, it obviously is reducing the sales and improving draft beer sales, where they've got a product which achieves a 99% or only a 1% waste impact. Anything else?
No, look, I think as far as the reduction of the waste goes, our service model basically gets rid of all cup waste. So it's, we have a single source collection bins at venue, and that's where the players, place their cups. Unfortunately, there's a fair bit of, I shouldn't say, but there's a fair bit of greenwashing that goes on with current other solutions that are out there at the moment when it comes to whether it's a PLA-based cup, which is a compostable cup. Unfortunately, without the right servicing in the back end, which is what we provide to each venue, is exactly that servicing. Without that servicing, we find that those compostable cups and other cups actually end up in exactly the same place as other landfill. So that's where we are quite significantly different.
The funds that we're obviously aiming to generate from this process with Birchal is really going straight back into we have a grant commitment with the Victorian government. So if we achieve that grant, we've made a commitment that we'll provide $200,000 in-kind funding for that grant. Working capital is really important. We need to invest in the staff and ongoing. Carl and I, just to be completely transparent, haven't taken a salary at all since we've been running the business over the last 4 years. And so depending on how we go, we'll obviously be cognizant of the funds that we generate and what we can pay ourselves and the sales. Technology is something really focused. We have to invest in the platform. We have a minimum viable product right now, and there is so much ability and opportunity as far as developing WOSUP rewards through a social media interaction, through live events, gamification, the whole bit. The platform is open. And one of the other key things that we're looking to do is obviously incorporate ticketing and being able to drive that for future event partners and the like. We need some capital to generate stock orders or the pipeline that's coming up, and also the marketing that we're implementing right now as far as social media. We need to be able to generate a consumer groundswell to help deliver our message to clubs and venues to help do our work for us. We mentioned the life cycle, and I might pass to Carl to go over the life cycle information.
Yeah, so when you look at the, here we've got the impact results for one drink. If we look at our product's made out of aluminium. One of the key, I guess, misguided information that's out there at the moment is how relevant and how easy it is, or how recyclable an aluminium can is. Well, yes, an aluminium can is recyclable 100%, but the single use is where they really fall down. And if you look at this chart here, you can see how impactful an aluminium can is, and where our product really comes into play is the multiple uses, which is what came out of the LCA, the life cycle assessment. Because we get the reusability of the aluminium of the aluminium cup, and then we go and put on top of that the infinitely recyclability of the cup, it really, really stands above both aluminium, polypropylene, which is the other companies that are out there at the moment that such as Wise, that have a polypropylene reusable. They're still making, though they are reusable, the density of the polypropylene causes a few dramas. We've got the PET, which is your standard, and then your PLA, which is your compostable. So our baseline figures that we worked on with this LCA, with WOSUP, basically sits below everything that we're looking at there on the chart, on the base.
I can see Zoe. So that's, you've heard enough from us, I think. Certainly me. So we'll pass to Zoe for any questions.
Thank you. That's really, am I on mute? No, I'm here. Thank you. That's really insightful information. And, you know, even myself, who's been working with you for the last few weeks, has enjoyed learning more about the company and the product. So we've got about 15 minutes left of the webinar. So I'll just throw some questions from the crowd to you. And I'll actually start just by answering the first question, which has come up, which is just wanting to understand a bit more about the actual investment offer. That is from an anonymous person, but I just want to explain that currently WOSUP are running an expression of interest campaign at the moment with us at Birchal. And that's a really important part of this process because it helps us gather a lot of information about the market and also get some feedback in terms of the offer and its parameters. So while all of this is happening on the Birchal platform, in the background, we're working on a thing called the offer document, and that includes terms of the deal and the offer, and I'll let you know what the individual share price is and what the company valuation is, and lots more detail before you decide to make an investment. And WOSUP's offer will be opening on Wednesday, 24th of May. So yeah, just hope to give you a bit more understanding that a lot more detail will emerge when we open up the offer. Carl and Marty, Debbie has asked, is this for all drinks, hot and cold? Will they be too hot if, I assume, you know, hot drinks are in the aluminium cups? Have you planned around this, or, you know, what's your strategy there?
Yeah, so look, at this stage, it's not for hot drinks, unfortunately, Debbie. We did go down the path some time back during our COVID research days when we did look at a hot beverage coffee cup as such, but at this stage it's really just tackling the single-use plastic cups at venues and events for drinks.
We have recently been contacted by a couple of hot beverage providers to partner with, and I think that's probably where we would go with that. I think we really need to stay focused on fixing one niche solution, which is cold beverages. But, you know, we'd be absolutely open to partnering with another company that really focuses on that.
Thank you. Debbie has also asked, what's to stop people from squashing the cups when they're done using them? You know, my understanding is that you have a bit of an on-ground team around the stadiums who are helping people out with, you know, their usage, but I'll let you talk to that a bit.
Yeah, so again, look, with our return rate and our damaged cups, we're actually really stoked to we're only receiving 1% of those cups damaged. People can crush them, not ideal, but it's all going to be about the education piece. What we really try and do with this company is get the consumer on board with making this significant impact, and we're finding that that's a really positive step for us. The people will be our saviour to make this as sustainable as possible.
Yeah, and I can imagine there'll be a bit of a herd mentality, and when people see, you know, the behaviour being picked up, more will adapt as well.
It's quite phenomenal, actually, how, just on that, Carl's, the reusability rate that we've been able to achieve in Queensland has well exceeded our expectation. And like this really has been very exciting for us. It's that the way that people have taken and accepted the change through, we can see it through the impact of sales, of people going back, getting rid of cans, going back, buying draft beer, having the increased amount of cups that have been put, even in our single source collection bins that we put in the venue, really clearly labelled. I mean, we're getting 60 or 7% of the cups back in the bin, and there's not a lot of waste, so, or mixing of materials. So it really has been quite phenomenal.
There seems to be an incredible, without carrying on too much, but there seems to be an incredible amount of value. People have this cup in their hand in comparison to plastic. They kind of take it back, you know, they walk back to the bar with it and say, oh, where do I put it? You know, and they're nearly grateful to be getting served their beer in an aluminium cup. It's hilarious.
Cool. I think there's two questions around whether you're looking to operate in WA as well. So one question from another anonymous attendee was, will you be coming to WA stadiums? And then I think they're also asking if you've had any conversations with the WA government so far.
Yeah, there was a process that Venues WA took probably about a year ago, maybe 15 months ago, in relation to Optus Oval. And we actually were in conversations with WA Racing, Perth Racing, actually. Carl's actually from Perth, and my grandmother was from Perth. So we have a bit of a connection with Perth, Carl mainly. But there are opportunities. I mean, we had a meeting this morning in relation to a team over there. Optus Oval have gone with a paper cup and a paper cup with a polymer lining, which makes it unrecyclable. So if you've checked out my LinkedIn, actually, funnily enough, I posted something this morning on that very subject about paper and trying to steer away from disposable products. So it is something that we feel that WA will eventually come back to us on, because we've refined our model so much over the last 12 months. But at the moment, we're focusing really our efforts on the East Coast.
Cool. Yeah. Someone has asked, where are the cups manufactured?
Look, at this stage, we are manufacturing in China. Which is look, to get this product out there, we did look at manufacturing in Australia. Unfortunately, at the time, we were looking at about a multiple of 5 times to get the cups manufactured here, which wouldn't allow us to penetrate the market as we have to penetrate the market to get to this point. Some of the conversations, and I've got to be careful not to be misleading here, but look, some of the conversation we're having, we are 100% planning to bring manufacturing to Australia, in particularly Queensland, potentially Victoria, especially just before the Olympics. The Olympics are basically their goal is to be completely carbon neutral, and in order to do that, we would be bringing manufacturing to it.
Great, thank you. Just for everyone's awareness, I am just working off these questions by the time that they've come in, because people aren't upvoting. So if you do have any pressing questions that you would like answered, please upvote them so I know. Another one, there's a question about how you're going to ensure that all the cups are cleaned adequately. And this person said that, you know, because the cup has a rolled lid, how do you ensure that, you know, the whole thing is cleaned, obviously for reuse and health reasons?
Yeah, so we run our cups through obviously commercial washers that we use a aluminium safe detergent. And we also run that at 80 degrees Celsius, which is the required temperature to sanitize all cups. All our staff wear hairnets and gloves. And we also run the cups through a drying system afterwards as well, where the cups again run through a heat process and then repiled into packs of 50 and bagged into a glassine paper bag rather than plastic. And then they basically go back into packaging, or they go back straight out to the bars, depending on what the venue is doing.
Thank you. Sorry, just reading. What capital has been invested in the company to date? And this is from another anonymous person, but just to make you aware, there is a cap table requirement in the offer document, so that information will also be available when we open up the offer. But Marty and Carl, would you like to talk to this anymore?
Yeah, we're quite happy to. I mean, we've really run the company on really. We invested at the start in a lot of legal fees. Sort of our biggest cost pretty much over the last 4 years has been legal. The reason we've done that is that we wanted to set the company up properly with the IP assignment deeds, obviously getting our structure right. In addition to that, we trademarked WOSUP around the world. We wanted to ensure that we were protected in the markets that we wanted to go to. We are not just in this to do Australia. We really believe that we get this solution right here will be better overseas. So our biggest cost here will be Australia. And the reason behind that is the RSA laws that we have to adhere to here aren't the same in Europe and South Africa, Japan, China, US, England, which is all the locations that we've trademarked. So our model here is to get it right here, nail it, and then go overseas with really great overseas. And that's where some of the connections that we have in our team from a global sport arrangement will come into really handy for us ongoing. We have funded the company ourselves. There are 4 directors in the business, and we've all funded to this point. It's been a really great achievement for us to be able to achieve that. But as Zoe said, there are all the financials of the company and everything that we've done and our burn rate, all the data behind that will be in your document.
Great, thank you, Marty. David has asked a question just about when you could expect first revenue to be generated. And David, I can actually answer that question on Marty and Carl's behalf, because just for your awareness, when we do run these offers, we're running them as a licensed intermediary, which is governed by ASIC. And ASIC take a pretty firm view about projections, whether that be a product, revenue, or return on investment. So it's not something we encourage founders to talk too openly about, because it can be considered very misleading, especially because these ventures are in an early stage and don't have huge trading histories. So, whatever information is required about the potential in the market and, future outcomes will once again be included in the offer document. I turn into a broken record on these webinars, but, all the necessary and required information will be available in that offer document. But unfortunately, talking about future revenue and projections is a difficult one to chat about just because, especially operating in such a new way in industry, it's a bit unknown at the moment. But ASIC takes a very firm view on that. So I hope that helps, and I hope the offer document, can help you answer your questions more. And when we do open up the offer as well, there is a discussion board on the Birchal platform where you can ask these questions you have as well after you've had the opportunity to review the company constitution, the subscription agreement, the offer document, and the risk warning. Just have a few more minutes, so I'll just read one or two more questions out. I'm sure this is very dependent on the venue size and tickets sold for the day, but Peter is asking how many cups do you need per venue and, per number of people, I think too, and who runs the events at each venue? I assume that's where that's maybe around where the WOSUP is present at every event and running, that use, or if it's handed over to maybe all the event staff or whoever's managing the stadium for the day?
That's a really, really good question, and thank you for asking it. The way we see this operating, and certainly the way we've gone about it, is that there's a full ecosystem of sport. There's the caterer, there's the venue owner, manager. There's the hirer, which is generally called, which is the sporting code. In Australia, there aren't really that many clubs that own the venue, besides probably down in Geelong. And we are working really predominantly with the caterers and the codes to work out what the ticket sales are in advance. We do get across that. We have particular trading history that the caterers and the venues are happy to provide us. But in general, it's about 1.03 cups per attendee that is the stock that we need to be able to provide, and that's kind of how we've modelled it. Some games where a code like a Magic Round, where they might be having triple header, that might go up to about 1.4, 1.5 cups per attendee. But we look at every single event and venue and opportunity in isolation to the other. We have a full P&L model that we've developed. We plug in the numbers, we work out what we need to be doing to make a specific return on investment. We're really strict to that, probably annoyingly so to some people, but that really is how we're focused. So the sponsorship amount that we need to ask, that's how we work it out. And we have 30 years of experience in media and media sales. So we know what we need to be able to ask to be able to transact with a brand, to be able to supply the product and venue. And in the event that Queensland, we supply a venue across the year, it benefits them if we come in on an international game or a special grand final, etc., because then we can bring the cups in, we swap their cups out, we put our specific cups in, and then we activate with the hirer that goes in on that game. We leave with the hirer, and if the venue's using different cups, they can continue using their cups, or we swap out and put our ones in.
Awesome. Thank you, Marty. I guess we'll treat that as the last question because we are at the end of the webinar, but thank you everyone who did ask questions. And to those people who do have their names against the question, we'll be able to send you some more personalized responses to whatever you've asked over the coming few days. And I'll just wrap up by saying thank you, Carl and Marty, for giving such an insightful presentation. And thank you everyone for joining today. As I mentioned, we'll have a recording of this webinar available to everyone who registered. So even if you couldn't make it, not that you're watching, but if you did have to leave, we'll make the presentation available to you. And then, yeah, because hopefully all of you have expressed your interest in WOSUP, you'll be able to get early access to their offer when it does open on Wednesday, 24 May. And that allows you to make benefit of some delayed payment terms and obviously be the first crowdsource funding investors for WOSUP. If you have any questions, you're able to send messages through the Birchal platform. And yeah, we'll be sending email comms out, just keeping you updated on the campaign and when things are going live. And yeah, make sure you consider all the documents and the risk warnings before making your investment too. So thank you and goodbye. And thanks
guys.
again.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.